It happened 4 years ago, but it seems like it was only yesterday. Something like this never leaves you. It's always in the back of your mind. You go over and over it, relive it, and you remember all the details. Like, when they called me up to the office from class, I remember it vividly. When they told me my father had been killed in an auto accident. At first, I couldn't grasp it. The initial impact of the thing was so shocking that I just couldn't get it into my head. My father was dead. My father was dead! Hey, parents don't die. Other people die. Neighbors, relatives, people you read about in the papers. But parents, they live forever. Or this is what you think. Because the thought of never seeing your mother or father's face again is out of the question. For me, the news was too much to handle. I think now that you can be overwhelmed by too much reality. That something can happen that is so real, so big, so personal, that you can't cope with it. I know that this is the way the news of my dad's death affected me. Jesus! My dad! I'd seen him just that morning. We talked like always, and we joked like usual, and he drove off to work like always, and hell, he just couldn't be dead. He couldn't. But he was. And I chose not to believe it. Like I said, the reality was too damn big. After my father died, I became a different person. Listless, depressed. I'd always been a good student, but after the tragedy, my grades went straight to hell. And I'd always been heavy into sports and I had plenty of friends. But now, friends and sports just didn't seem important to me. I became more and more withdrawn, standoffish. Little by little, I became a loner, to where I started skipping school and avoiding people completely. It got to the point where I wouldn't even answer the phone. My dad and I were so close. We were pals. He was a neat guy. We did all kinds of things together. He was someone I looked up to. I trusted, respected a lot. Then, all of a sudden, here he was. Gone! All of a sudden, I had no one I could trust. My mother tried to get me to relate to other men, wanted me to spend more time with my uncle, but it wasn't the same, you know? The only one I was comfortable with was my mom. I wanted to be with her constantly. I didn't want to let her out of my sight because I was afraid if I did, something would happen to her too. The thought of her dying like my dad, it drove me crazy. It took a hell of a long time for me to get over my fears and my feelings of emptiness. But after a while, with my mother's and uncle's help, and with the help of a few friends who would listen, I started getting myself together. Now, I'm finally starting to live again.